Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tales, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag too late. Now, let's get into today's tale. I took time off work to build a nursery in my in-laws' house so they could watch our baby the week we moved in. They told me I'd need to sleep in the guest trailer out back. It's for the best, my wife said. You're always tired anyway. That night, I rocked my son to sleep with tears in my eyes. The next morning, I called a name I blocked years ago. I never thought my life would end up like this. I'm a 34-year-old guy from Spokane, Washington. I work full-time in construction. Long hours, physical work, not a lot of time off. My wife, Samantha, just had our first baby, Noah, 3 months ago. We both knew that once her maternity leave was up, we'd need help watching Noah during the day. Her parents, Denise and Gerald, live in Kerdane, Idaho, and they offered to help. It sounded like a perfect solution, so I did what any new dad would do. I took time off work, 2 full weeks of unpaid leave, and I drove down to Kerdane every day. I spent hours fixing up the spare room in their house. I painted the walls a soft green, put up little animal decals, assembled the crib, bought blackout curtains, installed a new baby monitor, even put in a humidifier. I wanted everything to be perfect. Denise and Gerald acted like they were happy about it. They thanked me, smiled, made me coffee. I thought we were all on the same page. That's why I was so blindsided when we finally moved in. It was a Saturday morning, and I had just finished unloading the last box from the U-Haul. Noah was asleep in his car seat. Samantha was in the kitchen, with her mom chatting like everything was normal. That's when Gerald came up to me. "Hey, we should talk," he said. He took me out to the back deck and pointed to the old trailer parked by the shed. "We think it's best if you sleep out there for a while," he said. "Give Samantha and Noah space inside. Plus, you'll get better sleep without the baby crying all night." I just stood there, stunned. "What?" I asked. Samantha came outside holding her coffee. She nodded like it was no big deal. "Yeah, it's for the best," she said. "You're always tired anyway." That was it. Just like that, my wife and her parents had decided I didn't belong in the house with my own son. That night, I sat in that cold, dusty trailer. I held Noah in my arms, rocking him to sleep while tears ran down my face. He was so small, so warm. I could hear Samantha and her parents laughing inside the house. I felt like a ghost in my own life. The next morning, I woke up early, sat in the trailer with my coffee and stared at the wall. My phone sat next to me. I scrolled through my contacts almost in a daze, and then I saw the name of Eli, my older brother. I hadn't spoken to Eli in 5 years. We had a falling out over a business deal that went bad. He'd always been the black sheep of the family. Rough, around the edges but loyal when it counted. I'd blocked his number after a huge fight, and we hadn't talked since. But something in me snapped that morning. I unblocked him and hit call. He picked up after 2 rings. "Yeah," his voice was gruff, but it was him. "It's me," I said, my voice shaking. "I need your help." There was a pause. "Where are you?" he asked. Told him everything. Eli didn't say much, just listened. Then he said, "I'll be there tonight." That's when things started to shift. Eli drove up from Portland that night. He showed up around midnight, knocked on the trailer door. When I opened it, I almost broke down. He looked the same. Scruffy beard, worn jeans, an old leather jacket. He clapped me on the shoulder and said, "Let's fix this." We sat in the trailer for hours. I told him everything here. How Samantha had been cold to me for months. How her parents acted like I wasn't part of the family. How they laughed when they told me to sleep in the trailer. Eli just nodded, taking it all in. "You've been played," he said quietly. "They wanted you out of the picture. They've been setting this up for a while." I felt sick. Eli laid out the plan. We were going to document everything. Photos, recordings, texts, emails. We'd get legal help. We'd fight for custody. We'd take control. I was scared, but I also felt alive for the first time in months. Eli helped me install a small camera in the nursery and another in the living room. We recorded the way Denise spoke about me when she thought I wasn't listening. We caught Samantha complaining that I was useless and how this was always the plan, to have Gerald be the father figure since I was always at work. It was like a knife to the gut, but I kept going. I had to. Eli wasn't the type to sit back and wait. By the end of the first week, we had hours of recordings and a pile of evidence. Every night after I put Noah to sleep, I'd sit in the trailer with Eli going through the footage. I watched Denise complain about how Noah needed a real family man, around, not some tired fool, and Samantha nodding like that was perfectly fine. It felt like someone was twisting a knife in my chest every time I heard their voices. Eli told me to keep cool, not to show my anger. He said we had to play the long game, but I was losing it. One night around 2 a.m., I heard voices outside the trailer. I peeked through the curtain, and there was Gerald whispering with Samantha in the driveway. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught enough. "He can't stay here," Gerald was saying. "He's just in the way. He'll mess everything up." "I know," Samantha whispered. "I'm working on it." That was when it hit me. This wasn't just about me being tired. They want to be gone for good. The next morning, I asked Samantha flat out, "Why are you pushing me out of Noah's life?" She didn't even flinch. "I'm not," she said, not looking at me. "You're the one who's always busy, always tired. Noah deserves stability." I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. Eli told me to stay calm, to stick to the plan. He helped me file for temporary custody the next day. The lawyer we hired was a bulldog, an old friend of Eli's who didn't take crap from anyone. But then the next twist hit me. 2 days later, when I got home from work, I walked into the trailer and found it trashed. Drawers pulled out, papers everywhere, my laptop smashed on the floor. My heart raced. I checked the nursery monitor. Gone. I stormed into the house, my fists clenched. Samantha was sitting at the table, scrolling on her phone like nothing had happened. "Where's my stuff?" I demanded. She looked up, all fake innocent. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, sipping her coffee. Molin chimed in from the kitchen. "Maybe you misplaced it." I could feel my hands shaking. Eli showed up 10 minutes later and saw the mess. He didn't say a word, just looked at me and nodded. "They're trying to push you over the edge," he said quietly. "They want you to snap so they can say you're unstable. Don't give them that." But it was hard that night when I tried to rock Noah to sleep. Marlene came in and took him from me, saying, "You should get some rest. You're too tired to handle him." I almost lost it. The next day, Eli sat me down and said, "It's time to turn up the heat." He had an idea, something risky. "Remember your old buddy Derek, the private investigator?" I nodded. Derek was an old friend of mine from way back, someone I hadn't talked to in years. Eli called him that night. "Time to dig into Samantha and her family," Eli said. "Find everything." What we found next almost knocked me flat. Derek worked fast. He started digging through public records, financial statements, social media posts, anything he could get his hands on. Within a few days, he sent Eli and me a file that made my stomach turn. Turns out, Samantha had been planning to leave me for months. She wasn't just getting close to her parents for Noah's sake. She was setting up her own life without me. There were text messages between her and an old coworker named Logan, late-night chats, photos, even a few messages about how it would be easier when he's gone. Logan was some loser from her office job, some guy she swore she barely knew. And there was more. Derek found out that Denise and Gerald had a history of controlling behavior. They pressured Samantha's sister to divorce. Her first husband, years ago, convinced him he wasn't good enough for their family. He left quietly, and they'd erased him from the family photos like he never existed. Now they were doing it to me. Eli sat across from me in the trailer that night, flipping through the printed messages. He looked at me with this hard stare and said, "They're playing you. This was never about helping with the baby. They wanted Noah. They wanted you out. And Samantha, she's not the woman you thought she was." I felt like I couldn't breathe. I wanted to storm into the house and confront them all right then, But Eli stopped me. "Not yet," he said. "We need more." So we waited. We kept the cameras rolling. We saved every text, every whisper we could catch through the thin trailer walls, and then the next twist hit harder than I ever expected. One morning, I woke up early to the sound of Noah crying. Noah crying. I went into the house only to find Logan there, in my house, holding my son. He was standing in the kitchen like he belonged there, bouncing Noah in his arms while Samantha and her mom watched. Samantha looked up and smiled at me like nothing was wrong. "Morning," she said, like we were some kind of big happy family. I lost it. "What the hell is he doing here?" I yelled. Denise stepped in front of me like she was protecting him. "He's just helping out," she said calmly, like I was the crazy one. Logan grinned, a smug little smirk that made my blood boil. Eli wasn't there that morning, and I think they planned it that way. They wanted me to snap. They wanted me to explode so they could paint me as unstable. I clenched my fists so hard, my nails dug into my palms. I had to walk out of the house, sit in the trailer, and scream into a pillow. That night, Eli and I sat in the trailer, both of us fuming. "They're trying to erase you," he said quietly, "and they're using your kid to do it." But I wasn't going down that easy. Derek kept digging. He found financial records. Denise and Gerald had been moving money around, setting up a trust fund for Noah with Gerald as the trustee. They were planning to cut me out completely. And Samantha? She'd already met with a divorce lawyer. She was waiting for the right moment to serve me papers. Eli looked me in the eye that night and said, "You ready to burn it all down?" I nodded. It was time to stop waiting. Eli's words stuck in my head. "You ready to burn it all down?" I was ready. The next few days, I played it cool. I smiled. When I saw Logan holding Noah, I thanked Denise. When she told me to go rest, I nodded at Gerald when he grunted at me like I was a guest in their house. I let them think they'd won, but I was done playing nice. Eli, Derek, and I had a plan, a big one. First, we called the lawyer. We filed for emergency custody of Noah with all the evidence we had: videos, recordings, text messages, witness statements. Derek even got a statement from one of Samantha's coworkers who admitted they'd seen her with Logan outside of work, all over each other, while she was still married to me. Then, we filed a police report for destruction of property, my laptop, my stuff in the trailer. We had photos, dates, times, and the final piece. Derek got a court order to freeze the trust fund Denise and Gerald set up. Turns out they were trying to hide money. Derek found proof they were funneling funds from Gerald's small business into the trust illegally. That opened a whole new can of worms. I'll never forget the day it all came down. It was a Wednesday morning, cold and gray. Eli was waiting in his truck down the street. The lawyer showed up at 9 a.m. with the court order. The police came with him. I walked into that house like I owned it. Samantha was in the kitchen making coffee. Gerald was on the couch, flipping through a magazine. Denise was holding Noah. I looked straight at Samantha and said, "You're done." She laughed, actually laughed, until the lawyer handed her the court order. Her face went white. "What the hell is this?" she demanded. "Emergency custody hearing," the lawyer said. "You've been served." Gerald stood up yelling, but the police officers stepped in. They told him to sit down. Then they told Denise she had to hand Noah over to me, right there. Her hand shook as she passed him to me. "You can't do this," she shouted. "Oh, I can," I said quietly. The look on Samantha's face when she realized Logan was nowhere to be found, priceless. Turns out Derek had also sent Logan a little anonymous message, an old photo of him and Samantha, a note that said, "This will go to HR at your job if you don't back off." Logan ghosted her immediately, but the revenge wasn't over yet. Gerald's business, after the trust fund mess came out, the IRS started looking into him. Derek tipped off a local reporter too. Soon there was a story in the paper about the shady finances of a respectable local businessman, Samantha. She lost her job after her employer found out about her harassment of me. Thanks to the recordings we had, turns out they didn't like having their company dragged into a custody battle. Denise She tried to fight the supervised visitation order, but the judge sided with me. She barely sees Noah now. Just a couple of hours a month, Eli. He stuck around, helped me fix up a little rental place for Noah and me. We've been rebuilding our relationship, and I've got full custody of Noah. I work hard, but every night I rock him to sleep in his own room in a house that's mine. I think about what they tried to do to me, how they tried to cut me out of my own son's life. They thought they could control everything, but they underestimated how far a father will go for his kid. Samantha texted me a few months later, begging to talk things over. I blocked her number. I'll never forget the way they looked at me when it all crashed down around them. I didn't just take back my son, I took back my life. And they can rot in that empty house with their lies and their broken plans. They tried to destroy me, but in the end, they destroyed themselves. When I walked out of that house with Noah in my arms, it wasn't just a legal win, it was a funeral. Their funeral. Gerald, Denise, Samantha. They didn't know it yet, but their world was already on fire. See, Eli and I didn't stop with the custody hearing. While they were scrambling over the court papers, Derek was busy digging deeper. He found more than I could have imagined. Turns out Gerald had been running his business dirty for years. Off-the-books deals, unreported income, money funneling, through fake accounts. Derek handed all of it to the IRS, wrapped up in a neat file with a bow on top. Gerald was under federal investigation within a week. The cherry on top, a former employee of Gerald's reached out, said Gerald had been harassing her, trying to intimidate her into silence. She agreed to testify. Gerald's business shuttered, his accounts frozen, his reputation incurred delay, shredded. Denise, she tried to play the victim, crying in court about how she only wanted the best for Noah, but the judge wasn't buying it, not after hearing those recordings of her mocking me, laughing about getting me out of the picture, and even suggesting Noah might forget about his dad if I was gone long enough. She got slapped with a restraining order, supervised visits only, and even those were limited to a sterile visitation center. Noah cries every time she tries to hold him, and I don't stop him anymore. And Samantha, oh Samantha, she tried to save herself by cutting ties with her parents, begging the court for joint custody, painting herself as a victim of their manipulation. But the evidence was airtight. The texts. To Logan, the hidden bank accounts she opened behind my back, the videos of her handing Noah over to Logan while laughing about real fathers. It all came out. The judge didn't just deny her joint custody, he ordered a psychological evaluation. She failed hard. Now she's stuck with supervised visits, court-mandated therapy, and a reputation so trash she can't even get hired at a grocery store. Her so-called friend, Logan, he ditched her the minute the heat came down. Deleted his socials, blocked her number, moved to Boise. She was left standing alone in that cold, empty house. No baby, no family, no job, no plan. And me, I moved back to Spokane with Noah. Eli helped me rent a small house on the outskirts of town. It's not fancy, but it's ours. I got a promotion at work after my boss heard the story. Turns out they respected a man who fought for his family. Every night I tuck Noah into his crib. He sleeps peacefully. No more fights, no more chaos, just me and him. I think about what they tried to do to me. They thought they could erase me, replace me. They didn't just underestimate me. They forgot what happens when you back a man into a corner, especially a father. They thought they were cutting me out of my son's life. But in the end, I cut them. Out of his for good, and they'll have to live with that for the rest of their lives. They destroyed their own family, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. Just the truth. The truth.